Okay, I think we've got a good few people filing in. Hello, everyone. I think
Yeah.
to probably get started, seeing as we're all here. So
Yeah.
hello everyone, and welcome to Forge Talk 10. We've done 10 of these.
10.
Yeah.
Wow.
It both feels like it and doesn't feel like it at the same time. But yeah, isn't it awesome that we've gotten to 10 Forge Talks? That's
Yeah.
really cool in my mind.
I feel a little out of
Um,
practice too, because we haven't done one in a while. Because Claire and I kept saying, "Let's do a Forge Talk," and we're like, "Let's wait until we really have something to talk about." And today we have stuff to talk about.
yeah, actually. I'm going to toss the blog in the chat again because hello everyone with people saying hi. My blog link disappeared, but we're going to be talking about the Orc Hunter blog and also some of the little things that are at the end of it. So yeah, why don't we get started? We also have a lot of new people still in joining Discord, which is great to see new people joining and playing the game. There might be, well, we try to keep it as spoiler free as possible, but just be warned because we're talking about later stuff in the game, like later enemies and stuff like that. If that's not the kind of thing that you're into, just minor spoiler warning there. Um, but yeah, everyone's
Yeah,
welcome, regulars and new people alike.
I feel bad because everyone in Discord, especially in the RTM general chat, are always so good about avoiding spoilers, and then I jump in and toss something in, and everyone's like, I think the dev team just spoiled something." Because I sort of sometimes forget that at least Bradley and I have been working on this game for 4.5 years in some form or another. So it every once in a while we go like, "Oh, that's not a spoiler. I've known that for 3 years." It's like, that was before the
Yeah, and
game
you're
came
like,
out.
oh, well, you only see that about a half an hour in, so, or I'm sorry, like 30 hours in, so,
Yeah. You're
yeah.
like, "Well, we built that so long ago." Anyway, so yes,
Well,
we do try to avoid the spoilers. If anything, it's our own memory as to what is a spoiler is faulty.
Um, with that in mind, let's also introduce ourselves to new people and then also just to give the people who are listening in maybe after the fact or can't see the screen, let them know who's here. So I'll go first. I'm Claire. I'm the community manager. You'll often see me popping into the chat, and also I'm usually the person posting the various announcements that you'd see in dev updates and stuff on behalf of the team.
Hey everybody, I'm Jon-Paul. I'm the game director on the game here at Free Range Games. You see me in Discord as Tharkun. Uh, yeah.
Hi, I'm Bradley Fulton. I'm the art director on Return to Moria, and I'm the guy who tries to make cool stuff on screen.
You don't just try, Bradley. You do.
Oh,
I'm Ryan,
okay.
and I'm a design lead on Moria, and I haven't been on the project as long as y'all have. I've been on it for only, I think, 4 years now. So maybe
Yeah,
a little less.
we had a 6-month head start on you.
3 years, 11 months, or something like that. But yeah, it's nice to be here again.
Awesome. So will we jump right into it and talk about this new DLC that's coming out,
Yeah.
and we'll be able to give the date as well of when it's being released?
Yeah, can I give that date now?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, next Tuesday, we're going to be dropping a patch. It's a smallish bug fix patch. As for those of you who've been with us for a while know, we do a big update called a title update, a 1 dot and a number. And then we usually try to do a smaller patch within a certain amount of time afterwards so that we can fix some things from that original one. And now that we have the ability or the concept of these cosmetic and content pack DLCs, we're timing one with that patch this time. And that's going to come on Tuesday. Our usual try to get it out in the morning usually ends up around noon kind of a thing. Don't take my word for it on the specific time, but it'll be next week.
Yeah, we'll be rolling it out across all the platforms from Tuesday morning, West Coast America time. So keep an eye out for that. And once we know that it's starting to roll out, and that it's like there's no issues or anything like that, we generally post the release notes then in dev updates and the release notes channel as well. So you'll start to get notifications as to when you should be able to download it as well.
Yeah, one day we will announce things far ahead, but in general, we kind of wait until we're really feeling pretty certain, and then we announce it.
Don't leave out anything to chance.
Yes, that is true. Yeah, so the big thing that I think everyone is sort of excited about, or at least wants to talk about, is in the meat of the blog that we put out is the new paid DLC. It's a small content pack, so it's not expensive, and it's continuing along the theme or it's advancing. I think what we think of as a content pack, if everyone remembers, the first one we did was the Yuletide holiday pack, which was free, and then the Rohan pack, which had a decoration, a weapon, a meal, and then the cosmetic armor skin when we first had cosmetic armor skins. And then we've done the Int pack, and now the Orc Hunter pack. And with this particular pack, we wanted to try a couple of things. We wanted to try to maybe push the cosmetic skin a little bit. We're starting to really play around with, and I think you'll see this with the next one that's coming later this year. We're really trying to push the cosmetic skins from being just armor, but into things like either that have something a little bit interesting of a tone for people that want to role play, or eventually you'll see us starting to push towards clothes, not necessarily armor at all. So you can still have the effect of armor, but because it's a cosmetic, you can change that. And so with this one, we sat down and really said, like, what could we do to really let you role play a little bit, let you get your head into something that is a little different. And we had always had on our list, something a little more grim, for players that wanted to role play in that way. And so we started to kind of dig through the lore, think about what would be really interesting there, and so we landed on this idea of the dwarves not really forgiving the orcs, especially in and around the Battle of Azulabar. Oh my God, that is such a tongue twister. The Zun ul Bizarre. Please don't forget, Faro was the one that was really great at pronouncing Kuzdul. Anyway, so we thought about the Byrne dwarves and the war of orcs and dwarves, and that's where we kind of landed on this idea of maybe there's a certain dwarf in a dangerous place in Moria that would sort of decorate their base as a warning that would be a little more grim. So I don't know if Bradley, you want to jump in and kind of talk a little bit about the design and the look and feel of the Orc Hunter pack.
Yeah, so the costume itself, we wanted to create something. It's still very much the costume of a warrior, like the Rohan pack and the armor for the Ent pack. But it like Jon-Paul was saying, like it's not explicitly like a bunch of heavy protection. It was more meant to kind of tell a story of a dwarven survivor who maybe has spent a lot of time in the deeps of Khazad-dûm. And then for the building, the constructions, they really kind of fall into two camps. Like one was we want to take these as opportunities to, hit a few little points that, things that we felt were maybe gaps in the construction kit, like more home decorations, and then also ways to tell different stories. So one is there's a few more pieces of furniture, and this is like sitting furniture. So we've got the trollhide couch and the chair and the ottoman. We wanted players to be able to have like their trophy room. So we have several different poses of Drake skeletons. If you wanted to create something that's like, sort of like the classic kind of adventurer study, here's all the things that I've found in my adventure and tell a story. My grandchildren, I felled that Drake, at this point, and here's a skeleton. And then for the orc spikes, really, that was trying to hit something, the theme that, Moria is still a very dangerous place, even after you've completed the story. And it's really, it's a life and death struggle between the dwarves and the orcs. And we conceived of these as being something that you would put on the perimeter of your base, as like a warning. You're still going to be under orc raids, and these might be there to ward orcs off. And yeah, that really was kind of the thinking behind all those constructions.
Yeah, and so when we think about the lore of this, what we want to do, what we always do, is try to find something that inspires us in what the professor wrote, and what really sort of makes sense, that feels like it fits within the world. And so that's where we came up with, and in this case, this is our idea, the idea of the Frightener, the that sometimes there are orcs that are just too um, too hard to find and kill, too tough, and you need a different, a different kind of dwarf, a different kind of training. And we were inspired by a lot of different things on this one, and so we ultimately came down to, what would a dwarf do if they really could not just move on from what had happened between the orcs and the dwarves in the past. And so that's where we started to push that way. So, well, like with all of these content packs, we hope people will enjoy grabbing them, having the option to use them, and we want to start giving a little bit more way to role play, especially for those of you who've been with us for a while and have multiple worlds and want to think about, maybe this world I'm going to role play this way. So that's where we start. But we should also talk about, and I think it's one of the good reasons we got Ryan here. This is also our first content pack where we're starting to add a little bit of gameplay that goes with it. So rather than just buying it and now the other stuff is there, you can actually feel like you're inhabiting the role a little bit. And that's where we came up with the idea of the trophy gameplay. So I don't know if Ryan, you want to talk a little bit about that.
Couldn't find my unmute button. Yeah, one of the cool things about the. Sorry, can you all hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
We can hear you.
Oh, there was like a little bit of a delay in your response. I was like, oh no, something went wrong. Okay, yeah. The trophy gameplay is really fun, especially in this update, because it does give us the opportunity to seed something we've been trying to do for a little while. And one of the cool things about this particular one is that the DLC encourages you to get out in the world and find all of the creatures who can drop the ingredients for the trophies that you're going to build, and the different things that you get out there. And I really like that, because it's just really nice to know that we can keep people in the world a lot more. And I think especially for a lot of players who have been with us for a long time, people are finding really fun things to do on their own, but we haven't necessarily released a lot of stuff that has incentivized going back out and exploring too much and finding new things. That's been really nice to see. I'm excited to see how people respond to it.
Within that, there's also there's a rune included. For like applying to weapons.
Yeah, absolutely. So a new rune, which is the thing that you apply to the weapons to be able to get the trophies. And yeah, I can't remember Jon-Paul right off the top of my head. That's something that we gate behind certain progression in the game. Is that right?
Yeah, so the rune will come in, it's not exactly right at the beginning, but the weapon and the rune are both, they're a little earlier in the progression and the tiers from the one that we gave with the int pack. And so the cool thing about the rune is, but not only is there a new great axe for you to forge that will, when you use it, you will collect the trophies. The rune will allow you to apply that to any weapon. So that way you can continue to collect runes no matter where you are in the game progression. If you're later in the game and want to apply it to a really, a tier 4, 5 weapon, you can do that.
Yep.
And like everything with, we try to be very player friendly with our DLC. So if a friend has it and they've built the Frightener's Axe, or they've applied the rune to a weapon and you join their game, you can grab that weapon and use it when you're in that world.
And there's also a new brew.
The brew, yeah,
which is always nice to add into the game.
Yeah, maybe Bradley, you want to talk about the brew? I think this was kind of your brainchild.
Yeah, we were looking for a new kind of effect. We have a lot of brews in the game, and a lot of them will provide some kind of status buff to you. And we were looking for something that maybe comes at it from a slightly different angle, and also something that would be thematically linked with the idea of being a hunter. And so we came up with this idea of the Dark Eye Stout, that when you're under the effect of the brew, it actually changes the look of the game, in that it gives you essentially night vision. It improves. I'm using it to lift under the hood. We're lifting up some of the values and changing the way that the screen is rendered. But it gives you the ability to say move around in Moria and stalk your quarry, but without needing to have a torch out or any other light source that might, alert somebody to your presence. So that was actually a lot of fun to design because Unreal gives us some really great tools for how we can change the rendering, and this was an opportunity to explore that a bit.
I think I saw some people in the chat yesterday, was it? So they were looking at the GIF that's in the blog, and some people were joking about the Splinter Cell night vision thing, where you're going into full stealth mode, so only you can see, which I thought was a really good kind of analogy, that you're going to be able to stealth around and hunt down who you're after.
Yeah, we didn't put 3 glowing eyes on the helmets of the Orc Hunter.
Yeah, and we prototyped a couple of different ways to make that brew happen. We had talked about, is it more like predator vision, and some things were starting to push a little sci-fi, and so we thought maybe it'd just be better to say, hey, when you've got this thing, you don't necessarily have to have a torch while you're fighting. One thing I would say for the brew, we felt like the Dark Eye Stout could be really game breaking to a lot of the other concepts of managing dark and light if it were a long lasting. Most of our brews are really long lasting effect, so that you can get through the majority of a gameplay day. The Dark Eye Stout is actually a much shorter duration. So if you drank it from your base, likely it would expire by the time you got where you were going. So it is really intended to be more of a short duration, carry it in an ale skin, sort of have your night vision potion with you and drink it before you go in and fight. So that I think that will, well, I'm sure some people would love to just turn the lights on in the world all the time. I think this will help with that gameplay of, I've got my ritual weapon, I've got my Dark Eye ale skin, and I'm ready to go. And when I find my prey, now I can grab, drink it, take whatever buffs I need, and charge in.
That's really trying to sell that point, that fill the ale skin up, take it with you. That's in the blog. It's been said here. Pass that information around, everybody. It's important.
Yeah, so I think that probably hits most of the stuff about. Then there's also we should talk about the trophy decorations, because there's Bradley, you mentioned the skull lamps and the skulls on spikes, and those were mostly like, if you were trying to put a warning, don't come here, speaking the language of the orcs, that's probably how you do it. But the other one that I really like is the skeletons, the Drake skeletons, and maybe this is every once in a while I just want to inject a little bit of Animal Crossing into the game when I can, and so it's like, I want to have my natural history museum, and so this was like the right place to work that idea in.
Yeah,
talk a little bit about it.
Yeah, created a few different poses for them too. For one, it's just a ton of fun to put those together. But I also wanted to create a couple different, would not just have the one, but create a couple different poses for them so that you can use them in some creative ways. There's just kind of like the museum pose where this is meant to be like a specimen and it's just kind of mounted in a relaxed position. But then there's 2 more that are in like action poses. And if you arrange them in a certain way, it actually makes a little diorama. You've got, the classic sort of, maybe under the rotunda of some natural history museum, you've got the T-Rex fighting the Triceratops and they're posed. This is kind of along those same lines, that you can arrange them in a way that it actually tells a little story, which is a lot of fun.
And then the warg skin rug that you can put on the wall or on the ground. Those were fun. I think, are we missing anything else? We talked about the
Fellheist
furniture. The
Fellheist. There's mounted Fellbeast heads. So you want your the kind of thing you maybe put in a tavern, as a wall decoration.
Yeah. And maybe one or two surprises in there that I think are going to be fun for people to discover, that we don't have in the blog. So yeah, I think Claire, I think we hit most of the Orc Hunter stuff. I mean, we're excited about this one. It's us kind of towing into a little bit of gameplay, a little bit of but as always, whenever we do one of these packs, it's always going to be a cosmetic skin. And then it's going to be a mix of things. In this case, it's a mix of decoration, gameplay, and weapon rune. And I think with the next pack we're going to get into, it's going to be, we're going to start playing around with the idea of what can be in a pack. And so if this one was grim, the next one is going to go the complete opposite direction, and go much more cozy, with things like a new kind of hearth, and I don't know, should I spoil like the big theme of the next one, which is an entirely new building set, probably the most building stuff we've put out in one update. Is that right, Bradley?
Yeah, for sure. I would say by item count, it's the biggest pack we've done so far.
Yeah, it's and it's all based around building inspired by the Bjorning's Lodge pack. So we've heard people really want more wood based sort of village type look, lodge type look. So that's the theme of this one. We're talking about whole new wood walls, doors, beams. Wait, what else is
a proper wooden roof?
Yeah,
we've been paying a lot of attention to all the wonderful constructions that folks have been posting in the Discord, and seeing where we can maybe fill some gaps in the existing building kit. So that was one of the goals.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what else is in there. I mean, we're going full spoiler. I mean, look for a blog when it's getting close, and this one is months away. So I see everyone excited about it. We're definitely teasing you with it, but I think we've got some other neat things in there. Some more brew and food, bee farming. Those are sort of the big ones. It's not going to be, and then there is a cosmetic skin, which probably other than the end game one that you earn for finishing the story, this would be the closest one that doesn't really even look like armor. This one looks like you'd come home and put this on before you have your ale and go to bed, just to stay warm. Yeah, so that one will be coming.
Descriptions and stuff. I really like how cozy everything sounds in the next one.
Yeah, so you can see kind of the duality of the we're like, hey, let's give one for the players that kind of want something maybe a little more grim. Let's do one that's for building and cozy, and we want to try to get to a broader diversity of ways for people to play and role play, and that's I think why we like doing these in the content packs. Obviously continuing to support the dev team, where we love that, but also allowing people to sort of pick and choose. We really appreciate the people in Discord that talk about, hey, I'm going to buy everything. That's great. We love you guys. And also for people that say, hey, this one's not for me, I'm going to skip it. This next one, oh, this is definitely for me, I'm going to get it. And so that's, I think, the advantage of doing these updates as these little content packs.
Definitely. And just to sorry, I missed your name as it zoomed past me there. There was a question about DLC kind of collections and stuff. We do have, I know on Steam we definitely have packs where we have them kind of bundled together, and especially if there's a sale on, you can get them for a good price as well. So if you haven't bought any DLC yet, you can get some good deals on it as well, rather than just buying individual ones. I think you can untick ones that you don't want when you're buying those packs as well, as far as I know.
Yeah, that is right. And then, along with jumping back to this update for next week, because it is also a bug fix patch, we do want to mention that one of the big bugs that we're really glad we got onto this release is, for those, I don't think this is going to be spoiler, pretty early in the game, you learn about collecting the fragments of Durin's axe. There was a pretty gnarly issue. It didn't hit everybody. It hit a smallish number of people, but when you hit it, it was pretty meaningful. Where you really just could not find the fourth fragment of the axe, and we had many people in Discord, especially our Mootsack, that were sort of feeling like on the front lines of helping everybody do this. Claire, in particular, who were sort of our Mootsack or any of our players that felt like they were really helpful to people trying to find that fourth axe fragment?
I think like anyone who's part of the keg group. I don't know if you know about the keg group specifically, but they're like a Khazad-dûm Explorers Guild, which is a community setup group who really help people who are like stuck finding a particular item or like can't get to a particular location because they're getting a bit turned around, and they can help people by either jumping into their saves or maybe like getting their seed and kind of saying, hey, I think this is where you need to check on your map. And I know I think Miss Kazumi kind of headlines that, but a lot of our Muthsak are in the group, and they were definitely helping an awful lot of people. Other community members were as well, as soon as they knew like what the workarounds were for finding the fourth axe, because it was in the world. It was just sometimes really tricky to find it. But it was amazing to see the community just helping each other out so much with that issue, and we really appreciate it.
And we're happy to say that we've fixed the bug, or we've improved it. I'm pretty sure we've fixed it in most cases, so that it shouldn't be an issue. With the keg group, maybe we need like a regular, like a monthly keg report. Here are the top things that are giving people heartburn trying to find things. That would always be useful to us. Which maybe brings us to something else, which we noticed something interesting this time around. Most of the time, I think we pride ourselves on really knowing what issues are really important and which ones we need to tackle every time we do a patch or an update. And this was a big one on our radar. We found when we mentioned the patch, we saw a lot of activity in Discord about, hey, I really hope you fix X, Y, or Z bug that's really important to me. And some of those we knew about and we're like, ooh, good. Yeah, we fixed those. And some of those we went back and looked and had a hard time finding tickets for. So just a reminder, we really do read every ticket. I know that sometimes they can feel like they feels like it goes into a black hole, but we really do review all of those. And in fact, this might be a little counterintuitive. The more tickets we get on a particular issue, the easier for us to spot, hey, we really should prioritize this. So there were a couple of bugs that came up in Discord that we saw and we're like, oh man, we definitely could have fixed that, but the release is already locked and loaded, and so we'll have to put that into the next one. So just as a reminder, we really do read all of those. We try to read Discord a lot. And I like to feel like I'm reading it. I know Clare and Oysen and the mods are reading it. The Mootsack have a way to sort of escalate stuff up, but we still miss things in Discord. It's still very easy for those of you who have, like me, 12, 15 different servers you're in. It can be very easy to miss things in Discord, and the tickets are our way of saying, this is a thing. And so we have a process where we review every ticket and we go through them. And so just a reminder, if there is a bug that's really, really bugging you, put in that ticket. And even if you see someone else say, hey, I put in the ticket, go ahead and put it in anyway. We don't mind dupe tickets. It helps us prioritize. So I do sort of feel bad in that there are a couple of bugs I'm seeing kind of even in the chat right now or in Discord. I'm like, oh man, we'll definitely fix that in the next release, but we might have missed that. So just as a reminder, put in those tickets. We absolutely do read those.
Information you can provide, the better as well, because sometimes, like on PC especially, you have people have different setups and different information that people give us because everyone has different gameplay style as well. It can help unlock clues to help the team figure stuff out quicker as well, because something one person says and something another person says, you put those two together and suddenly like, oh, if both of these things are happening, it must mean XYZ and that sort of thing. So it really helps us to get through stuff faster. And just as Jon-Paul was saying, it helps us to track frequency, not only like how many people are roughly affected, but also across different platforms as well. Like I think once like a patch goes out, everything's roughly the same. But if something is isolated to, hey, there's a lot of people on this platform are having this problem, it'll help us find a different way to investigate it as well. So
Yeah.
tickets are a great way to help us lay out that information for ourselves as well.
And save files. Somebody's mentioned it in the chat too, but save files are so important. So if you're playing on PC and you're reporting something and you have a save file that can help the team reproduce it, we really value those.
And log files.
I'm noticing in the chat, Ryan, I thought we had fixed Iolite drops in Star Metal Ore. How about you and I go look at that in the Unreal Editor after this?
I see people saying this, and I'm like,
I swear we fixed that. So let's go figure out what's going on there.
Yes.
Yeah, we try. we tried. So we built a pretty broad game, so easy to miss things. But in terms of bugs that the fourth axe fragment's a big one. I know a lot of people talked about having to lay off their timber bears. Whoever had the term timber bear, I got a chuckle out of that, which is
that was a good one.
Kazumi as well. Yeah,
use the bears in order to take down. We really debated at launch whether we should leave that in, and we thought that was kind of funny, so we left it in. The reason we ended up in this build, we made it so that the bears don't destroy trees quite as easily, was we found in feedback and in our own play sessions that if you spent the time to plant trees, having the bear come in and wreck shop on them was pretty frustrating. And so we took a stab at trying to find a middle ground where the reason why they did that in the first place is that sometimes the trees can just kind of get in the way of the bear, and we thought, well, hey, this bear should just knock the tree down instead of having to go around it. And so we had to address that because we felt like planting a lot of trees and then having the bear wreck it wasn't great. So that's another one we did. So I'm very sorry for the timber bears. Hopefully, Ms. Kasumi, you have a good severance policy for those bears. Maybe with the next pack with bee farming.
Related to that one, we also fixed some of the large trees really early in the game, in the Elven Quarter, that were previously made of tissue paper, and now they are made of real tree. Yeah.
I'm just looking at the patch notes, which you guys will see in complete on Tuesday, but there's a couple other things we did. We used the language "fixed the recipe of Mirevoire," but that was actually an oversight. That was supposed to always take Elbereth's blessing because it's an elven cordial. So that recipe is going to change. I'm just looking at some other things we did, fix some appendices stuff. Ryan, anything from your point of view that was like, this was a really big visual bug or important bug that we fixed?
I'm also scanning through the patches. The other one stands out as the containers and resources in Dwaro Delph. they don't just contain one small tiny thing. Now they contain all of the other things that they should have had to begin with. So
that was an unfortunate bug. It's like, and there's plenty more. I mean, it's a long list. We fixed a couple of things that were just kind of blinking out of the world instead of destroying nicely. And then there was a couple of again, this is not a huge patch. The majority of the work on this one is in and around the DLC pack, which really leads into sort of what is the team doing now. Like I said, this is a smaller bug fix patch, and then it worked out that it timed at the same time as when we were ready to release the Orc Hunter pack, and most of the Bjorn pack is already done, and we're waiting for the right time to put that out. Because the majority of the team's time, actually all of the team's time starting on Tuesday, but the lion's share of it is working on the story expansion, which we hinted at in the blog. I'm sure everyone here is hoping that I will slip up and spoil what it is. I will say the main thing around it is how can we advance time and give you end game. And so if we are going to let the rest of the summer play out, and we'll give you a lot more information about what that means, but it is the two things that we absolutely want to do is give players more Tolkien-esque story, and we want to give you more things to do in the end game. So when the not a spoiler, but when the door closes shut on you and you're back inside, what do you do? And so those are the two big things that is going to be, and there's going to be, I'm sure, a lot of speculation. And like a, to use an analogy of like a good game master, we're watching all that speculation. We're going, oh, that's a good idea. Maybe we can fit that in. Let's write that down. It is by far not set exactly. It's an organic process, but that's coming. And we can't really right now talk too much about everything that's in it, or when it's coming. But we wanted to basically say, if you're feeling like, hey, why isn't there like an update every 2 months? It's because for this year, we're going to put all of our effort into giving you guys not just, if you think about what we've done over the last year and a half, a little bit of new stuff, but mostly sort of continuing to try to make the game better, listen to your feedback and improve the game. And this time around, we're ready to really try to give something new on top of trying to improve. And that's the big theme of our work for this year. And so that means the next release after this will be that expansion. Again, I don't want to talk about timing, but there's going to be a little bit of time in between. Well, there'll be the Bjorn pack, and then there'll be the expansion pack. So we're really excited. I would love to just pull up the design docs and go through all of it, but I've been advised that's not a smart idea. So we're just going to leave it with a tease on that one. Yeah, I don't know, Bradley or Ryan.
Anything between here and there?
Yeah, I think people have already figured out I've got a pattern to the emojis I use.
I feel like if I say anything, that I'm going to say something I shouldn't have, because it's been on my mind is everything that we've been working on recently.
Right, like I've been
I'm
sort of like
to talk about it.
I've been dipping back and forth between helping with the release, and I think you and Bradley have been sort of in the future for so long. I think even Bradley, when we were talking before this, was like, what are the things we fixed now versus fixed for later? When you're working in the multiverse of like, there's a version of the software that the players have, there's the version of the software we're about to release, there's the long-term version of the software that includes the expansion. It can get a little bit your head can spin a little bit between what's in which version.
Yep. Yeah, I think that we're also we're transitioning back to like we're always wearing the dev hats, but there's a different hat that you wear when you're switching from doing these kind of smaller, very focused content updates to something that's bigger scope, like what we're working on now.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think that leaves us with, is that the bulk of what we wanted to talk about, Claire? Should we? Do you want us to tease more?
I don't know if I'm allowed to sanction that.
Yeah, that would be rude. Yeah. No, I mean, just continue to tease at the level we're already teasing, which would be kind of mean.
Well, one of the things that people should watch out for, because they might hear some people mentioning the Wandering Wizard, which is what I call, or what we've started calling, when Jon-Paul, when you pop into chat, drop something and then kind of wander away. So yeah, sometimes
it's not me being cagey. It's me being like, oh, like what happens is I see something really cool. The team shares something. I'm like, that's cool. I bet the players would love to see that. And then I do it, and then I get busy, or like someone calls me or something. And then I come back, I'm like, oh man, it's like 20 responses. I'll just have to look at this tomorrow. So it's I'd like to say that it's being mysterious and cagey, but sometimes it's just I get so excited. I'm like, oh man, I don't want to wait till this goes out. I want to show people this right now.
So yeah, for anyone who doesn't know, that can happen on a rare occasion in general chat, and then usually once there's like 2 or 3 that have been shared, I tend to gather them and then post them in dev updates. So don't worry about scrolling back, because once there's a few of them, I'll share them generally with a Forge Fire tag as well. But yeah, keep an eye out for those, because there might be some nice ones dropping, I suppose, after the Orc Hunter DLC is out.
Oh, that reminds me, I got to set up that meeting with Teddy. Sorry, I'm looking at the chat.
I do have one question about the Orc Hunter DLC that I spotted, actually, that some people were a bit concerned about, is this the lighting effect that you get from the Dark Eye Stout. If you're in a well-lit area, does that like blow out the area completely? Because I know when we had the lighting adjustments in the past, some people rejoined their worlds, and where they had loads of lamps, it suddenly became very bright and they had to adjust and stuff. So is this something you have to be careful about, or is it kind of, do the values shift enough that it's kind of just a nice ambient color shift?
Yeah, just to get a little technical, so under the hood, when we switch to the Dark Eye Stout lighting, it uses a different group of settings for the exposure control, and that means that I can limit how bright things get. I can lift the darks so that it's not quite as dark, but I can also limit how bright things get. Having said that, it still will be quite bright if you're standing in the middle of a sunbeam, but our goal is not to just like completely blow that, blow the lighting out. It's balanced for multiple lighting conditions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if you look at the blog, there's about halfway down, there's a picture of a dwarf standing with the axe in hand, and they're kind of glowing. And that was taken in a relatively bright base that we had built, and the dark-eyed stout had been taken. So you can kind of see the difference there between standing in a base versus the GIF slightly above it, where I took that one where I just like, where is the darkest place in Moria? And drank it, and then to see what the difference was and stuff. So that can kind of give you a sense of what it's like, but you'll probably, because it has a slightly shorter time window anyway, you'll probably want to be drinking it when you're out and about and you're on the hunt as well, rather than in your base when you're fully illuminated. Let me see. And now I've lost my questions tab because I opened that up. Oh yeah, someone asked, Dwarven Gingy asked, for the farming the bees, does that mean there's a placeable item for putting down to get honey in the Bjorn pack, or are you holding that reveal for later?
I think we've sort of already I think we've already tore the wall off on the Bjorn pack. Yeah, it'll be a placeable.
Awesome.
One thing I know, if I will maybe throw the gauntlet down on one thing that's going to happen. Well, I guess one thing people have that when we do the expansion, there will be a free update that goes along with it. So if we do things like improve certain areas of the game, that'll be available for everybody. But a lot of the cool content stuff will be in the expansion pack. And one of the things we've absolutely heard, and that Bradley and I were just talking about this week. So Bradley, I may be signing you up for something, but I feel like I want to give something that is a definitive, which is adding two-handed classic style battle hammers.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. That's actually something that we've been wanting to do for quite some time, and we're just looking for the right time to do that. And that's something we're going to try to tackle this year.
I joked in Discord that when I think back to building the game the first time, I mean, now that we're a year and a half out from launching, some of them felt so we had a lot of these like just intense arguments and discussions about things. And one of the things that me and one of the combat engineers were constantly going back and forth about is, what is a hammer? what counts as a hammer? What weapons do the dwarves use? What does the Iron Hills battle Mattocks look like? Is it a one-handed mattock? Is it a two-handed mattock? Because obviously, like, the movies depicted it one way, but the books just say they had war mattocks. And you're like, okay, well, what is that? And then how many different weapons can we have? And what do we call a hammer? And what if the hammer is for repairing? And if you think you guys get into arguments and passionate discussions about things on the lore in Discord, we did also as we were building the game. So one of the things we had to decide was, how many different forms of hammer do we have? And of course the obvious answer is all the forms of hammer, but you have to draw a line somewhere. So we're finally getting to the we will have the maul, we will have the hammer, we will have the battle hammer, we will have the war mattock. So people have been wanting that, and we'll finally get to it.
I'd love to see the whiteboard Venn diagram that probably came out of those meetings where like everything was overlapping with like, well, I could use it for repairing, but I could also hit and work on the head with this. So which category does it go into?
Yeah, right. And that's the thing about software is you sort of have to tell the computer this hammer is for this, and it can get a little confusing on the UI to have something that is both for repair, crafting, and combat. But sort of the dwarf way, so we'll figure it out. Yeah. What other questions we got?
I'm just looking down through here. I know there's a lot of questions about kind of new stuff, like new building items or like decoration items. I know there's going to be some stuff coming. Probably can't go into specifics just yet. What will or won't be there in future packs. One of the things that people I see ask, which probably I don't know if it works well with the Bjorn thing, is that people often ask for, because now that we have warg rugs, what about bear and wolf rugs?
Yeah, we talk about the sort of wonky arguments that we have internally on the team. It's the if the pack is inspired by Bjorn, what would that mean to have a bearskin rug? And so that might feel a little odd, given that we're like, hey, let's build lamps out of orc skulls. But that's the theme of that pack. With the next one, we were really kind of thinking, I don't know if Bjorn would like it if you walked in and you had a bearskin rug. So we opted not to do a bearskin rug this time. I know that's maybe a disappointing answer, but I don't know if Bradley, you're gonna jump in and help me on this one.
Yeah, that was more or less the thinking. Also, we wanted to, ultimately some of this comes down to just scope and how much we can take on. However, we do have the mechanic now. And so going forward, anything new that we add, this could be something that we could explore some more.
Yeah, I think the suggestion of the wolf skin and well, maybe we slip a bear one later on, but yeah, so no bear skin rugs this time. I like the warg skin one, the idea of a wolf one. The times when I want it to make a rug out of a wolf is when I am singing a song to light up a Durin lamp, or one of the longer songs when you're singing the song of Durin and you're almost at the end and a wolf bites you in the rear. That's when I want to make a wolfskin rug. So
yeah,
maybe we do that.
There have been multiple times where I might have been posting, just like a little video clip update into the company Slack channel. It's like show and tell. Hey, this mechanic is in, and then in the middle of my demonstration video, there's a jump scare where this wolf jumps out of nowhere, and I've got to take 10 seconds to deal with the wolf problem before showing off the feature the way I was trying to show it off.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, there's other cool stuff coming. I mean, the frying pan is going to be a fun one. We'll get to that when we start talking about the expansion more.
What a tease. It was a perfect drop. I like that.
Yeah, what else we got?
Boom, boom, boom. Do Davey was wondering, because if something like the Frighteners Act is a kind of a lower tier, do you ever think there'd be a thought around kind of like weapon transmog? I know you can move the rune from weapon to weapon, and I really like the effect that it has on different weapons that people will see on Tuesday. But if you wanted like a lower tier weapon because you just really like the style of it, but you need the oomph of a bigger tier weapon, do you think that's something that you'd be looking into in the future?
Sure.
Cool. There you go. There's your answer, Davey.
Well,
I don't know how the mechanics of
sorry,
that would go.
I got a little distracted because I was double checking. Ryan, what tier did the Frighteners Axe end up going? I mean, we prototyped it and played it a bunch of different tiers. Where did we end up landing?
It's mid tier, 4, I think.
4. It's a tier 4.
We adjusted
it. Yeah, I think that the axe itself is tier 4, but the rune unlocks, I believe, in and around the Mines of Moria, right? Like earlier.
Yeah, I think so. I'm launching the editor right now.
We
to look.
made this game, guys. We remember everything about it. Uh, I'm pulling Ryan back into remembering things that we did a little while ago.
Yeah, we
but
just updated
so-
it really close to the end of release because, yeah, I just don't recall exactly where the rune unlock is. But yes, I believe the axe is tier 4.
Weapon transmog is actually a little bit more complicated of a concept. We started prototyping a bunch of different transmogs, and we prototyped shield, and we started to play around with weapon transmog, and ultimately we landed on, for weapons and shields, we would rather work on giving you a broader variety of weapons to craft and choose. But the interface started to become a bit complex, and we wanted you, the other thing is, like, if you think about it, you only ever have one set of armor on, and the interface, it's very clear. This is the helmet I have on. This is the torso I have on. And so it's very easy for us to say, I'm wearing this torso and this is my torso skin. Weapons and shields, however, are a part of your action bar. They're a part of your inventory, and we want you to be able to hot swap. And so we had trouble. We not had trouble. It was a bit of a challenge that was beyond what we were willing to do, which is you would have to sort of have a one-to-one reskinning of a weapon to another one, which is actually a true transmog, but we have a cosmetic alternative system. So I'm getting into sort of design dev speak a little bit. So the form, or if you think of sort of, there's a branching tree of design options when you come to giving a player a way to look one way when they're equipped with another way, and we chose a path that was around letting you have alternatives to the fixed thing. When you get into a weapon, we don't have a concept of, this is my one weapon right now, therefore I always want it to look like this other one. The animations change a little bit, and so we ultimately decided transmog for weapons was maybe one bridge too far. And so what we want to try to do is just give more variety to the weapons, and I think you'll see that with our content planning over the next year. So maybe not the answer you were looking for, but I thought rather than tease a maybe, yeah, we're focused on, with the transmog, we're focused on the cosmetic skins right now.
Yeah. Thank you for that detailed answer. I think we're kind of coming close to the hour there. I suppose there's one of the last things that I'm seeing popping up a lot, and I don't think the answer has really changed since the last time it was asked, but I know there's a load of new people in the chat as well. But the talk of cleaning up Moria and removing a lot more debris, has there been any progress on that, or is that something that you're looking into more?
You want me to take this, Jon-Paul?
Yeah. I mean, I could give the requisite warning of one of the reasons why we don't talk about everything really far ahead is because we're kind of a smallish, agile team. There's a difference between things that we want to do and we've set aside time for, but the reality is sometimes there's something really important we want to do and we don't quite get to it, and we don't want to say we're definitely doing it and then disappoint everybody, which is why we tend to wait until we're really sure. Which I know other teams, there are plenty of other games out there that I love and play that will announce everything that they're trying to do in the next year, and maybe those things happen, maybe they don't. And we just, for ourselves, decided we would rather talk about the things we're definitely going to do, and rather than sort of raise people's hopes and then dash them. That said, Bradley will talk about, we absolutely have time set aside for this. So if you want to get into it a little bit, Bradley.
Yeah. So there's a number of different ways to approach, I think, the goal here. And some of this, there's just maybe in this one particular place in the world, there's this one object that I should be able to, break down or clean up, and I can't. And that's kind of like a punch list approach. We're going to do as much of that as we can. I think the big thing that we'd like to tackle, because we think this is just as important as I think the community does, so we weight this very highly, is floors in particular. The things, the spots in the world where like the floor is already kind of damaged and ruined to tell part of the Moria, the ancient Moria story. and yet that can't be changed. And the go-to fix for that, I think, for the players is to just lay a new floor down on top of it, which isn't really kind of what we intended with the way to use the building system. We wanted you to be able to build just in place without having to necessarily lay down a new floor. So that's one of the things that we very much want to try to accomplish, is cleaning up all of that and telling that ruined story maybe in a different way that is stuff that you can break and clean up, and the mounds of debris that just disappear when you place a hearth, like using those kinds of things to do it. So that's one of our longer term goals, is to address those issues.
Yes, it bothers us too. we're working on it. We want to work on it.
I think there'll be a lot of people in the community happy to know that it's on your radar, because I know it's something that pops up a lot. Which,
there was one little moment where I was like, well, it's if you go to Rome, they don't clean everything up. They just build on top. Like Rome today is like 4 stories taller than it was in ancient days, because they just built new floors on top of it. That's just what our players are doing. And I think Bradley looked at me like, we should fix it anyway. I'm like, okay, fine.
So that, because that's something that we see in feedback a lot, just a reminder that, as well as bug reports, sending us in feedback tickets as well, because we do keep an eye on the chatter in Discord. But if we get a lot of requests for something, it boosts it higher up the radar as well. So I know there's a lot of people been asking various questions or about new different systems and stuff, and I will go back through the chat once we finish up and gather all the bits that were there that people mentioned. But also, please do send in feedback tickets as well. And just a slight reminder, if you're submitting feedback and bug reports, please remember to put them in the right section, because it's a different person that they go to, a different path that they take. So they will eventually get to the right person, but just to make that path a little easier through our systems, if you're submitting something that you think is not working as intended, or you would like to see fixed, or an error that you're seeing, or any kind of saves and logs that are being sent in, that goes under bug report. Anything that's a kind of a suggestion or request, pop that in under feedback. So yeah, I think that's everything we have for the moment. Oh, thank you, Oisin, for tossing in that because sometimes people miss the feedback section as well, because you actually have to scroll down the selection menu.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's kind of the hour now. That's all we have time for. You guys have to get back to the mines.
Yeah. And again, oh man, we've still got 94 here at the end. Terrific. Thank you everybody for being here. Great attendance.
It's the busiest we've had it.
Yeah, and obviously I love seeing the thanks for the game and the team, but this game, we are still in the mines because of y'all. Because of the passion here in the Discord, because of people that are buying for their friends, talking and things. So that is a game. You as a game maker, you hope to make something, and then when it goes out, you hope people like it, and you hope it builds enough of a community that you can just keep building it. And that's what we've had. We've been really lucky, and it really is because of everybody here. And so when I'm I think a lot of us in the dev team, me included, when I'm flagging, a little tired at the end of the day, wondering if it's really kind of worth it, I jump into Discord. I see what people have built. I see people talking about playing it with their family, and it's really inspiring, and it's really inspiring to us. So thank you. And thank you for being here. Thank you to the Mootsack, who are always in there, and trust me, when they don't like something, they let us know. So we love this community, and we love the energy that y'all provide to us, and we just hope we keep making something fun that you want to keep playing. So thank you.
Seconded. With this community is absolutely fabulous, and then I feel privileged to be a community lead for it. Absolutely.
Here's to that.
All right.
Yeah, thank you, everybody.
So with that, we'll sign off. And I do want to tell people that we plan to have the next Forge Talk sometime in July, hopefully mid-July, but we'll release an event notification similar to this one once we get closer. We make sure everyone's schedules work out, because there's only so many times in the month that we can manage to pull people away from the mines and get them to sit down with us. We appreciate all the work the free range team are doing on the game as well.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Yeah. Thanks.
Have
all.
a great day, everybody.
Cheers.